Philadelphia news, team of my heart.
Sixers news. It's time to face the hard truth. Joel Embiid and Paul George are down, and the Sixers are at a crossroads. But should they abandon the big three? Danny Green says no, and here's why this might be the defining moment of the season. Stay locked in.
You can feel it, can't you? That tension in the air. A season that started with championship dreams now feels like it's teetering on the edge. Joel Embiid, your MVP. Your franchise cornerstone sidelined. Paul George, your blockbuster addition out. Indefinitely, the Sixers foundation is shaking, and with the trade deadline looming, whispers of a drastic shakeup are growing louder. The pressure is mounting. Should this team hit the reset button? Or should they double down on their big three and trust the vision that was built? Danny Green, a voice of championship experience, is making his stance clear. Don't panic. Don't. Scrap what you've built. And maybe he has a point. Look at the pieces still in place. Tyrese Maxey, a rising superstar. Kyle Lowry, a seasoned leader. Kelly Oubre Jr., a relentless scorer. This team still has talent, still has depth. The question is, can they hold the line until Embiid and George return? Because if they can, this roster, this big three could still be the answer. But here's the catch: you don't have time on your side. Every game without Embiid and George is a battle. Nick Nurse is being tested like never before. How do you keep this squad afloat when your biggest weapons are out of action? The Sixers have to lean into their depth, trust their system, and find ways to stay competitive. But the bigger concern: what happens if the front office decides that waiting isn't an option? The trade deadline is approaching, and you know what? That means Sixers news, trade buzz, speculation flying in every direction. Names are being thrown around, offers are being discussed. The pressure to make a move is enormous, and some believe that a bold trade could salvage the season. But at what cost? Would breaking up this core mid-season be a mistake? The reality is, chemistry doesn't form overnight. You saw glimpses of how dangerous this big three could be when healthy. Before the injuries, this team looked poised to make a deep run. Scrapping that blueprint because of short-term adversity? That's a gamble. But standing pat and waiting for health? That's a risk too. This is where the Sixers have to make a call: trust the plan or pivot before it's too late. And make no mistake, the players feel it. Tyrese Maxey is being asked to carry a heavier load. The young star has embraced it. But how long can he keep this up? The defense, anchored by Drummond in Embiid's absence, has its moments. But consistency is an issue. The bench, they need to step up, and they need to do it now. Every game is a statement. Every win is proof that this team still has fight. So, what do you think? Should the Sixers stay the course and believe in their big three? Or is it time to shake things up with a trade? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The pressure is mounting. Embiid and Paul George are out. But can the Sixers survive without them? Should they push forward with the big three or make a blockbuster trade? Every decision now could define the season. Here's what's really at stake. You see it happening in real time. The Sixers are walking a tightrope. Every game without Embiid and George is a test of survival. And the margin for error is razor thin. Tyrese Maxey, he's giving everything. Kyle Lowry, he's keeping the ship steady. Drummond, holding down the paint as best he can. But let's be real, this isn't the team you expected to see at this point in the season. There's no easy fix. The trade deadline is approaching, and the Sixers front office is under immense pressure. Calls are being made, offers are being evaluated. The moment of truth is coming. Do you trust the process? Or do you make a move that could change everything? Nick Nurse has been thrown into the fire. Without Embiid, his entire game plan shifts. The offense has to be more dynamic, more creative. The defensive identity has to be redefined. There's no dominant rim protector, no automatic 30-point scorer. And that means role players have to elevate their game. Kelly Oubre Jr. has to be more than just a spark plug. Quentin Grimes has to prove he's worth the minutes. Lonnie Walker has to be a consistent threat. But here's where things get complicated. You can't replace Joel Embiid. You can't just go out and find another MVP caliber center. And even if you try to compensate with scoring, rebounding, or perimeter defense, the truth is that this team is built around Embiid. If he's out for an extended period, do you really believe this roster can hold its own against the elite teams in the East? That's the dilemma. The Sixers have to both stay patient or act now. If they choose patience, they have to rely on internal growth, betting that Maxey can keep carrying the offense, that Drummond can hold the paint, and that Embiid and George will return in time to make a playoff push. If they choose action, they risk shaking up a core that, when healthy, looked like a legitimate contender. One wrong move, and you could set the franchise back years. And let's not forget other teams are watching. The Sixers aren't the only ones in trade talks. Miami, Boston, Milwaukee, New York, they're all in the mix. Every move they make could impact the Sixers' path. If a rival gets stronger, while the Sixers stand still, is that a mistake? If they make a trade that doesn't pan out, does that close the championship window completely? You've seen it before. Teams that panic at the deadline often regret it later. But teams that hesitate sometimes watch their championship dreams slip away. This is why every decision matters. This is why patience and urgency are battling against each other right now. So tell me, do you trust the Sixers front office to make the right call? Should they wait for Embiid and George? Or should they make a trade to salvage the season? Drop your thoughts in the comments. You know how this goes. Championship windows don't stay open forever. The Sixers are staring at a moment that could define not just this season, but the next several years. Do they stay patient, trusting Embiid, George, and Maxey to carry them when fully healthy? Or do they take the gamble, make a trade, and risk shaking up everything they've built? You've seen how teams have handled these situations before. Some bet on their core and reaped the rewards. Others made desperate moves and regretted it for years. And right now, the Sixers are sitting in that exact position. Every decision, every negotiation, every strategy session in the front office could be the difference between competing for a title or watching another season slip away. But here's what you can't ignore: time isn't on your side. The trade deadline is approaching. Other teams are making moves. The East is getting stronger. Milwaukee, Boston, Miami, and New York, they're all positioning themselves for a playoff push. If the Sixers hesitate, they could fall behind. But if they act too quickly, they could make a move that backfires. What's the right call? The belief in the big three is real. You saw the flashes of what this team could be when healthy. Maxey's explosive scoring, Embiid's dominance, George's two-way brilliance. When it worked beautifully. The chemistry was building. The pieces were clicking. Do you really want to throw that away over a rough stretch? But the injuries change everything. What if Embiid's recovery takes longer than expected? What if George isn't at 100% when he returns? Can you afford to wait, hoping everything falls into place? Or do you need a backup plan, an extra scorer, a defensive anchor, another reliable veteran who can keep the team afloat in the short term? This is why you have to stay locked in. This is why Sixers news, trade speculation, and front office decisions matter. This isn't just about today, it's about the bigger picture. And soon, you'll get the answer. The Sixers will either trust the team they built or shake things up in a major way. One path leads to stability, the other to uncertainty. Which one will they take? Now it's your turn. What do you think? Should the Sixers hold their ground and trust the big three? Or is it time for a blockbuster trade? Drop a comment and let your voice be heard. And listen if you're a true Sixers fan. You can't afford to miss what's coming next. Trade rumors, breaking news, game analysis, everything you need right here. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and make sure you never miss a second of the action. Because when the Sixers make their move, you'll want to be the first to know.